So we have our login form, and now we need to work on this bit of code in login.js right here. Handle submit. So all we're doing right now is saying nothing. Just prevent the default action, don't submit the form, and nothing happens. And the first thing we want to do, of course, is some validation. So we'll do that exactly as we did in our edit movie component. So first of all, we'll declare a variable, let errors equal an empty array. And then we'll check for the existence of our two required fields, the only two fields in the form. If this.state.email is exactly equal to nothing, then we'll push onto the errors array. Errors.push email. And we'll copy this and do exactly the same thing for password. And this is very simple validation. You probably would want to add some validation for the email being in the correct format, but we're not worried about that right now. You can figure that out with 2 minutes on Google. So password and password. Now, if either of those fail, then our array length will be greater than 0. So if errors.length is greater than 0, then we'll say return false. And of course, we also want to set the state. This.setState errors, there. So now we have something to display. So if the form doesn't submit properly, if they haven't filled it out properly, we should get some visual feedback. Let's see if that works. So we'll go back to our web browser and we'll try submitting an empty form. And that's exactly what we want. Okay. So assuming we get past this point, now we actually connect to our REST backend and try to get our JWT by authenticating. So we'll do it exactly the same way as we did in our edit movie component. We'll declare a constant called data, and that will be equal to a new form data. And we'll just grab all the fields from the form. evt.target. And our payload, const payload, is equal to object.fromEntries. And we're going to pass it data.entries for all of the individual form elements. And there should only be 2. Now we'll declare our request options. So const request options is equal to, and it's an object, and we're going to go with method of post, because that's what we're listening for in our backend is a post request. And the body will be json.stringify and its payload to convert it into JSON. And now we do the actual request. So we're going to fetch, as usual, from http://localhost port 4000 /v1/sign-in, and we hand it our request options. Then we take our response and convert it into response.json. Then we take our data and use an arrow function, and we do our check. If data.error, something went wrong. Else, things are good. So if there's an error at this point, we want to set an alert. So we'll say this.setState, and we want to set alert to be of type alert-danger with a message data.error.message. Otherwise, we successfully authenticated. So at this point, all I'm going to do is just say console.log data, so we can see what we get back. All right, let's try this. Let's go back to our web browser, and let's open our JavaScript console to see if there's any errors or see if we get any feedback. And I'll just click on login to make sure everything is current, and it is. So let's put the wrong information in there, x@x.com. And we have a problem right away. This.target is undefined on handle change. So login.js line 25. Let's see where that problem is. Login.js line 25. it should be evt.target.value. That explains that. Okay, too many thises in JavaScript. So let's go back and try it again. We'll clear the console, and we'll type x@x.com with a password of x. No errors this time, that looks good. And we have a bad request, which we're going to fix later on because this is technically not a bad request. But we did get an error from our post, and we got our unauthorized, which is perfect. Let's clear the console, and let's try the correct information. So me@here.com is my valid user on my back end, and the password is password. Log in. And we got our response. And there's our JWT right there in the console. Perfect. So what do we want to do once someone is actually logged in? Well, we'll take care of that in the next lecture, but it would seem to me that the logical thing to happen here would be to actually set the state, of course, and we'll take care of that, and then to redirect the user to some other page. So we'll get started on that in the next lecture.